Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It is Monday, June 1st. We made it through another month, and we're off to a good start for the month of June. I'm super excited to be here today. Chastin Miles with us. Thank you so much, Chastin, for being here. I want to welcome everybody, regardless of the platform that you're on watching us. You might be on our website, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're at. Welcome. Thanks for being with us. As always, if you have questions for Chastin, he's got a load of knowledge that he's going to share with us today. So I'm really excited. If you've got questions for Chastin, chat those in wherever you're at, and we'll make sure that those get relayed over to me, and we'll ask those of Chastin. Chastin, thanks for being with us today.
I appreciate y'all.
Tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Sure. Again, I'm Chastin J. Miles. I'm actually out of Dallas, Texas. Been in the real estate industry for the past 7 years. So started out as a solo agent, no real direction, no real estate background in history. Fast forward today, I currently have a home team here of 10 sales agents, handful of staff nationwide. I'm at 54 real estate agents across 12 states, including Canada and Hawaii. So I've done a lot in my real estate business. I got started on YouTube. So currently over 2 million views on YouTube, and I've written a book and been featured in Forbes and NBC, ABC, Fox, you name it. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying the journey as my business grows and as we touch more lives here.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah.
We had the opportunity to speak a little bit last week. I'm super excited because there's some cool things that you've done. And I want to get started. I want to talk about how you've grown your business, right? 7 years. And like you just said, you're over 50 agents, you're in 12 states, 2 countries. Tell us how to do that, right? Tell us what you've done to get to where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, it just all starts with one. It's a series of events that you just put together, and then you notice when you look back at it, you're like, dang, I kind of got a good thing going here. But it really started with me wanting more out of my real estate business. I was operating as a solo agent, and I was growing my business, just me, myself. But one thing about me is I kind of get bored really easily, and I have to keep things interesting. I knew that I wasn't going to be able just to be a solo agent for my whole life. Even as my business grew and I needed help, I knew that I just wanted more out of this. So it started with my support staff, really. So I brought on my first buyer's agent, and me and my buyer's agent, we were just working deals, and then we brought on somebody to support us. So we kind of did a little flip-flop. I know you're supposed to bring on the admin first, but we were both just kind of doing admin stuff. So brought on that admin person, and they worked out really well, and then that kind of flopped, and then it was just down to me again. But I learned a lot. And then I said, hey, I'm gonna go big or not go at all. So I reached out to a couple of other teams out there, and I was like, hey, do you have a job description for this type of role? And do you have a job description for this? And then I just started posting like want ads and job ads, and bringing on agents again to help support my business. Then last year, actually in January of last year, I said, I want to completely rebrand, kind of start fresh. So I changed my team name from the Chastin J. Miles team to Founders Real Estate Group. And that was a move that I did because I said I didn't want it to forever just be about me. I wanted to bring on agents and kind of help them do the same thing that I did. I wanted them to have the ability to brand and market themselves and build their own identity. And so even though I was the big boss and team leader, I wanted an identity for my business that was just kind of separate from just me and what I've done and who I am. So that's how Founders came about. And again, it was just kind of like a snowball effect, kind of how our real estate businesses are. Like, get one team member, and then you get another team member, and then you get another one, and then you bring on more staff to support that, and then more and more come. And now I've even taken myself out of the hiring, and I have a full-on director of sales who does all of the agent interviews, who kind of manages the sales, keeps the team motivated, and treating it more like a company.
I love that. And there's probably a load of advice that you could give to somebody who's in the process of growing their team, right? And I don't expect that you've arrived at the end and your team is right the end state, but what's some advice that you would give to somebody who maybe is in the position you were in 7 years ago, single agent, but looking to grow, looking to expand? What's the advice you'd give to somebody starting to grow that team and build out those specialty roles within their organization?
Sure. I would say start with what you need the most. So for some people, it can be just admin help. For some people, it can be transaction coordination, or you can have way too many buyers and you just need somebody to be able to show homes for you. So start with what you need first. And the way that I did this was literally, I took a sheet of paper and I folded it in half, right? And on one side of the sheet of paper, I put on there everything that I did in the past week. And then below that, I put on there everything that I wanted to do but didn't get done, right? And then what I started to do on the other side was, out of all the things that I did, I said to myself, did I really need to do that, or is that something that someone else can do? And so I basically just started dragging items over, like, okay, somebody else can do this, and somebody else can do this. And then I took that assessment and I said, okay, so for all of these things, I really need just a full-on office manager or admin person. And that's how that role came about. And then I did it again when things started moving along, and then I had other agents. I was like, okay, all my time is being taken. I need to do this exercise again. And so I did that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm seeing that the bulk of my time is now spent entering transactions here and there. And my admin person was helping with that too. So now I was like, there's two people now that are doing one job, and it's taking up a bunch of our time. So that's how the transaction coordinator role came into play. And so it's really just about assessing where you are in your business and what's taking up all your time to figure out what should that first hire be. And then from there, you can keep doing that exercise over and over again when you start to notice that your time is being taken and you're not able to produce the way that you want to.
So I think that's fantastic advice. And I love the exercise to sit down and go, what did I do? And what should I have been doing? Or what could have been passed on to somebody else? Do you think that it's common for agents who are looking to bring on extra help? Do you think it's common for them to hire the wrong person for the wrong job? Right? I mean, sometimes we go, well, I've got a lot of buyers. Maybe I need a buyer's agent, but maybe what they really need, like you said, is an admin. Do you think that that's a common mistake that people make when building a team?
Absolutely. And I've been down that road myself, like many times, bringing on the wrong people. And I don't want to say the wrong people in a sense of, oh, they're just not good at their job. But what I was looking for, or what I was trying to make happen, was just like an all-in-one. Like, I want you to do the transactions, and I want you to do the marketing and answer my phones and show properties. And that was just the wrong move, because I'm just such a firm believer in people doing what they're most good at and matching people with their strengths. Like, even for myself, I'm not trying to bring something that I may be like a 3 at, try to make it a 10. I'm trying to bring the things that I'm maybe like a 7 or an 8 and bring them as high as possible. So a big mistake was trying to get that all in one. And I struggled with it because, for one, I was saying to myself, well, I don't have a bunch of money to pay all of these people or to hire for all these positions. And then I struggled with, well, if I get the right person, they should be able to do all of this. And then my biggest struggle was thinking that I could find somebody who was me. Thinking that I know that I can do it all if I just sit here and I'm going to be drowned in work and unhappy. Like, I know that I can do it all, but I can't expect them to be me. But I can accept and expect them to be the best version of themselves. And so that's kind of how I look at it now. And when you go out there and find people, yeah, you may get the wrong one the first time, you may get the wrong one the second time. I'm still a believer in the whole quick to fire thing and all that, but I do rely on certain personality tests and just different resources that are out there. So everyone has to take the DISC test with me. and that's DISC, and that's a free personality test you can get done out there. And then I also require that people take Strength Finders 2.0. So there's a book that accompanies this. You can get it off of Amazon, but that's a book that really outlines people's strengths and stuff, and see how they can best be used for you. Even with the hiring, like I get so excited, like when I got that first application or that first resume, and I was like, you're it, that sounds good. But just, set a deadline for yourself. Like say, hey, I'm going to accept applications for 14 days and then look them over. Like don't jump on the first one that comes in.
It sounds like there's probably some stories that you could tell from accidentally jumping on the first one, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Yeah, because we're like acting out of necessity, like I need somebody today. And it's like, you didn't have somebody a week ago, you didn't have somebody before that, so you can last another week,
Yeah. And I think that's sound advice. We've got a couple of questions. Melissa Flores, I'm going to get to your question in just a minute, and because that's a great topic, and I know that Chastin has some really good advice on that. We spoke about that last week, so I'm going to get to Melissa's question in a minute. But Jamal Carey asked this question. He says, how do you figure out how to pay them, your admin or your buyer's agent? So talk to us about that a little bit, because that's probably a question that a lot of agents have, is as I'm building out a team, how do we do splits? Talk to us just a little bit about how you started that. And then maybe if you could even just give us some ideas of here's exactly how our pay structure is broken down into the team.
Sure. There's a few ways you can do that, but first you have to understand that this is going to be an investment. Like bringing on somebody, it's going to be an investment. It's going to take money out of your pocket, even onboarding them, and you're not going to make as much money as you did just as a solo person. So just understand that. Now down the road, it's gonna pay out a lot more, but coming into it, you have to be ready to spend some money. So here's how I did it. For one, I chose to only bring on people like starting out who were already licensed, because then I can supplement their pay with a split on deals. And so even though I can maybe only afford, let's just say $8 an hour, $9 an hour, I was able to supplement that with a split on deals that I would bring them in, or as of right now, how it is from office manager, he has a salary, but then he also gets a bonus based on the team's production for the month. So it's a bonus per transaction, and it's X amount for sales, and then there's another amount for leases, and this is in addition to his salary. That was probably the best way that I started out, because I just couldn't financially do it, or I didn't even feel comfortable financially doing it to where it was just all going out in, just straight up coming out of my money. Another thing that I want to encourage people to do is trial periods. So our trial period lasts for 90 days, and it can be X amount for the first 90 days, and then a increase after those 90 days, after you see that this person is good for the role and they can stick around. It's a 100% even written understanding that this is a 90-day probation period, and we can go either way. You can choose to go your way, or I can choose to want to explore another option. So there's that going into it. One last option, especially if you're not at that place where you feel like you can pay someone something comfortable, start out with virtual. Start out with a virtual assistant that can do the things that don't actually physically require you to be at a location or even on the phone with them, and that can save you a lot of money. One thing about paying people is it's honestly whatever rule you make it. You don't automatically have to go full time. You don't automatically have to go X amount of hours. If it's even just, hey, I need you 2 days a week, that's how you can do it. When I started out with my transaction coordinator, they were working with other agents too. So they had other income coming in, and I didn't try to pull them away from the other agents. Now, what happened over time was they started doing more and more and more work for me and my team, and then they didn't need those other agents, and I was able to supplement that income for them. But starting out, no, like I want people to make money, and I didn't necessarily have the amount of money to be able to completely support lifestyle. So you got to get creative. And the cool thing is you're the agent. It's your business. It can be as creative as you need it to be.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is there's no rule, right? I mean, it's your business. You get to decide, and then don't jump on the first person that comes in, right? I mean, there might be several applicants that come in, and you pay attention to which one is going to best fit the role. And I think the idea of a 90-day probationary is fantastic, right? Let's see if you're the person for this job, and if this job is the one for you. And I love that. I think that's fantastic. Thank you. Those are fantastic insights on growing a team. I promised Melissa that we'd get back to her question here, so I want to switch gears just a little bit. And you and I had actually talked about the answer to this question last week. So I know what some of the things you're going to say, and I know how good they are. But Melissa asked, what would be the first steps as a new agent during this time? So somebody's new in the business, especially during the last 2 months with COVID, things are different. What's the advice that you'd give to a new agent right now?
Sure. So one big piece of advice for that is don't try to learn everything. Don't try to figure out everything. Just use what you need for the time being. There's so much noise and just so many different ways of doing things and things out there. You coming into the business as a new agent, your number one goal and biggest goal needs to be making some money. And so what is it going to take for you to make some money? You're going to have to generate some leads. You're going to have to learn some scripts. You're going to have to hit those phones and cold calling. That's the stuff that you want to focus on. And I oftentimes talk to new agents, left and right. And I'm like, well, how do you spend your time? And oh, well, I was trying to figure out how to run Facebook ads, and I was trying to figure out how to, every word and line in the contract and this and that. And I was like, why are you doing that? You don't have a contract to write, or you don't have any business, so definitely not try to feel the pressure of trying to figure everything out, especially right now, because honestly, years in the business and still to a point where I don't know any and everything. And there's a lot of people who've been in this business for decades that still don't know any and everything because things are always changing. One big thing or one way you could do that is kind of clearing your mind of everything that you may know about the real estate business, or you may think that or someone has probably told you before, because when you actually get in the business and that reality hits you, and you start saying to yourself, oh, this isn't what I expected, or nobody told me that it was going to be like this, or this is harder than I expected, then next thing you know, you're out of the business. And so you have to come in with fresh eyes, clear mind, ready to learn, but ready to put action forward. Like if I tell you on your first week, and this is a good idea, like hop on REDX's platform. They have so many different resources for you to start calling, for you to use those scripts and start practicing that stuff. Start practicing talking to people. Start practicing going on listing appointments and that type of thing, because then you start to get your name out there, and then you start to sharpen your skills, and you start to get business. Yeah, I mean, that's big for me. And I have so many different plans out there, just even on my website of things that you can do even to lead generate. Have a great guide out there for that. But just drown out all the noise and everything else, and just come in and ready to work.
Yeah. So and I love that. I love the idea of forget what you think you know, because until you really get into it, you don't know, right? You just have an idea what somebody else's experience was, and all of our experiences are going to be different. Chastin does have that, as he just mentioned, that PDF, and we've just put the link into the comments. It's 50 ways to lead generate, and he's agreed to give that away to our listening audience today. So thank you for doing that, because the truth is, there are a lot of ways out there to get business, and I appreciate the plug for REDX. I appreciate your long-term business with us, and but outside of even what REDX does, there are still fantastic ways to get out there and make money. Now, I'm going to ask a follow-up question to this. Is this advice any different? So let's say 2 months ago, Corona apocalypse never happened, right? COVID-19 pandemic didn't happen, and we were still in really, really hot markets with lowering interest rates and increasing home prices. Would your advice be any different? Or is this regardless of market conditions? Forget what you think you know, begin with the basics, and focus on your skills. Is it the same advice regardless of market conditions?
Yeah, it's going to be the same advice, and I'll tell anybody, because it can be in a hot market, it could be in a slow market, or it can be in a market where we're dealing with this that we're dealing with right now. These are fundamentals that no matter what market you're in, you're gonna have to focus on these things, and you're going to have to go down this road. Now, what I will say, the differences are going to be, it may take you longer now, or it may be more difficult because now you are fighting with the market conditions. But at the end of the day, the task and the job is still going to be the same. There's all types of adjustments being made out there, but something to understand about real estate, I mean, it's been around for freaking ever. And so at the end of the day, our job is to move homes, and it's to help people buy and sell. So although the market conditions may change, we may have to hop on and do virtual presentations versus in person, or we may have to make 10 times more phone calls. But at the end of the day, we still have to do those same things. So no different.
Perfect. Thank you. And on that note, there was a good question that Amanda Smith asked a few minutes ago. She said, have your marketing techniques changed since COVID-19 began? So let's talk about that for a minute. Just what has changed in your business in the last 2.5 months?
Sure. So when COVID-19 was rolling around and all that kind of stuff, there was so much uncertainty. You know, it was like one day we would hear something, then the next day we wouldn't hear anything, and then boom, y'all can't go out and do anything. So there was probably like a 1 to 2 week period where we were just at like a standstill, you know, because our minds were just so, you know, what to do. Yeah. We were continuing on doing what we were previously doing until it was just straight up said in black and white, y'all can't do this anymore, you know, until it was just straight up said, you can't hold the open house. Then that's when we stopped. But what we did have to make sure happened, and this happened very quickly, was figure out what was possible. You know, we didn't want to be that team or those agents that just let this completely turn our business down and just shut the lights off. So we quickly adapted to, all right, how can we get ahead of this no matter what they say we can and can't do? Like, what are the things that we can control? All right, well, we can control our relationships. Still, we can make sure that we are maintaining our past client relationships, our current client relationships, and people who are still in the pipeline. All right. Well, we also saw that, hey, our listing presentation and our buyer's presentation, we have PDF versions of them. You know, yeah, we have the book versions, but they're all online. Okay, well, everybody's hopping on Zoom. How about we structure this around Zoom? How about we structure our presentations to where they come into Zoom? So we did that. Then we took it a step further and we said, all right, now we're going to do virtual showings. And how that worked was, we would get the sellers and the buyers into a Zoom with the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. So pretty much all 4 parties in the Zoom. The buyer would be directing the seller where to turn the camera and everything like that. And then any questions that either buyer or seller had would go to their agents, and then we would move the messages back and forth. So we had to adjust in that way. Another way that we did with the contracts was, instead of just allowing anybody into anyone's home for a preview or anything, we would do the virtual. They would look at all the photos, but they would have to send in an offer. So, you know, this is commonly seen on the commercial side in like the form of an LOI or letter of intent. So that's essentially what we were doing on the residential side, to where they had to show that they were serious enough to send in an offer, and then we would actually let them into the home. So making these adjustments allowed us to stay ahead of things. And basically, if any type of situation came up, we were still able to say, all right, yeah, I know that's the case and we can't go out, but here's the solution that we have, instead of just, oh, no, we're not in business right now.
So it sounds like procedurally some things changed, right? I mean, how you went about completing certain tasks, but it wasn't like you guys set out and totally changed direction in your business, right? You still accomplished the same tasks. You may have just done it a little bit differently. Is that right?
Yeah, and I would say the only direction that we did change was when it came down to marketing and our focus, because there was so much uncertainty with the interest rates, and now the first time buyer program is you have to have this score and this is going away. So what we did was we had to change our focus in who we were kind of going after, certain price points, certain type of criteria. Now we do a lot of first time home buyer business, so it did wipe out a lot of business, but what did pick up was a good amount of new construction and then a good amount of land deals. So what we did was we started to take our marketing in that direction more, because we saw that that was a market that was still moving, instead of trying to make something happen for a program that just left. So that was a pivot that we did make, and it was with our messaging and marketing.
Yeah. So, and that's really consistent with the other people that we've talked to on this podcast. Is while there have been minor changes, it's not. I don't know that I can recall any podcast where somebody had to totally change everything. Right. Business has continued as usual. People continue to buy and sell. How we go about communicating and the message of that communication obviously had to change, but it's been awesome to see, because the people that we've had on this podcast are what we would call successful agents, right? Mm-hmm. People who have built the skills and systems that are necessary to weather whatever market comes, and we're seeing that. But it's also cool to see that nobody hid under their bed, right? They didn't crawl under the blanket and wait, right? It's people who said, okay, something's changed. How do we adapt? How do we go with that? There's still a lot of deals out there to make. And in fact, where there are some agents who have hid under the blanket, that means there's more deals for you to take advantage of, right?
Yeah.
So when we spoke last week, Chastin, we talked about how a large percentage of your team's business comes from your sphere, from referrals. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about that a little bit, because as we get questions from people all the time, often they relate to expireds and FSBOs, but then people go, well, what about how I market to my database, right? And so we're asking these questions of experts like you, who have figured out how to maximize referrals from your business. Now, if I remember correctly, it was a large percentage of your business that's coming from referrals. Is that right?
Sure. Yeah, my business is broken up on two different sides. We have our listing side, and they do a lot with expireds for sell by owners, things like that, canceled. And then there are the buyer's agents, and it's mostly SOI, referrals, everything like that. I mean, we're pretty extensive when it comes to our spheres.
So let me ask this question, because this is one that we get often, is because everybody's got a big group of people in their cell phone, right? And these are, even if you're brand new in the agent in the business, you may not have past clients per se, but you've got friends and family and neighbors and former coworkers and all kinds of these connections, and they're all just stuck into our phone.
Yep.
What advice would you have for somebody, or maybe there's some things that you've done in your business to help kind of segment those people in that list, so that you're spending your time as you prospect to your database? How do you do that with the most efficiency? Because obviously some of those connections are going to be more lucrative than others. Is that clear what I'm asking?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. First things first, and I tell people this who are in my program, this is literally their first activity. They have to split their contacts up into lists. And so we have lists. There's the favorite people list. So like, okay, or VIPs, whatever you want to call them. But like, these are the people who you don't mind kicking back, having a coffee, going to dinner, or having a beer, whatever, with. These are your favorite people. Like, they already know, like, and trust you. They'll almost do anything for you. I mean, it can be family, it can be friends, it can be even past business, but you love these people. So there's your favorite people list. Then there is your past clients list. So people who you've done deals with. Now, one thing about past clients, okay, because I realize that a lot of real estate agents have been previous salespeople. If you are in any other industry and you have clients, even if you had your own t-shirt business, that is considered a past client. So put them on that list as well. Then there is your referral partner list. We all know business people, okay? And when I say referral partner, because I know I'm talking to agents, I know our minds automatically go to like a lender, a title company, whatever. But no, a referral partner can be anybody. A referral partner is anybody who can send you business. All right. And here's how I think about my referral partners, because I have people who are in my phone book that I know they're probably never going to buy a house. They probably won't ever move because they've been living somewhere forever, or they're living with their parents. Like I'm not going to rule them out. But I know that these people go out there, they're networking. Heck, they can be in the club every Friday. I don't know. They have a capacity to refer me business. Okay. So they're going on that referral partner list. Okay. The next list is the whale list. So WHALE. Okay, those are the people who you want to know, okay, because they can be big industry people. It can be an HR manager. It can be anybody, but you want to know these people, okay? And then there is the builders list, or you can call them builders list, whoever. But those are the people who are in the real estate industry that you want to get their business. Okay, so if you think of like a title company, they're going after agents. Lenders most time are going after agents. So us as realtors, who can we get business from? We can get business from custom home builders. We can get business from your CPAs, accountants. These are all people who I don't know and who I don't have a relationship with. And I typically will go about finding these people off of LinkedIn. But even if I have them in my phone book because I met them at one networking event, I can put them on that list. So starting to segment your list is going to be the first thing. And then from there, you're gonna see like, okay, I actually have some people who I can possibly get business from. And then it comes down to actually working that list and working it hard. We do a number of things here on my team to work those lists. But yeah, you have to know who your lists are, and you're going to get overwhelmed if you just say, they're in my phone book, but I don't think they're going to do anything. Everybody's money to me. So,
yeah. Amen to that. Right.
Yeah. You just got to put them in the right area. Yeah.
So I love that. I love that you've got them segmented, and I wrote those down the way that you do. And then you mentioned there's some things we do to work those lists, and that's my next question. How do you take those lists and monetize it? How do you turn it into referrals?
Absolutely. So first things first, it starts with our power hour or money hour, whatever you want to call it. Every single day, my whole office shuts down and we just call. And how we've done it is we've broken up those lists that I gave you into a different day of the week. So Monday's your favorite people day. Then Tuesday is your past clients or update calls. And so take those lists, break them up into every single day. So that way during your power hour, you are hitting the phones and you're calling with intention. Another thing that we do is we do, of course, the home buyer, first time home buyer events. And we invite people from those lists that either haven't purchased with us yet or may not even be in the home. We do make these events public so anybody can attend, but we do 4 first-time home buyer events a year. Then for the people who we already know are living in the home, or they may have been a past client of ours, we do educational events. So these are events for homeowners. I mean, you don't even necessarily have to be a homeowner to come to one of these educational events. Like for instance, back in January, we had a tax accountant in to talk about tax savings with your home, and people who come and try to sell you solar panels and tell you that you're going to get all these tax breaks and all this kind of stuff. So actually giving people some practical, really good education. Now, for our past clients, so people who we've already helped, we do homeowners orientation. So that happens every 3 months, and it's for anybody who's purchased a home with us in the last 90 days. We invite them to an orientation that basically teaches them how to take care of your home, how to maintain your home. We introduce them to our trusted vendors to call for certain things. It's a true orientation. So we had their orientation when they were thinking about buying a house, and then we're keeping with them. We do client appreciation events. So those happen twice a year. And that's a good opportunity to invite your past clients and even your referral partners out for a happy hour. Or if you don't want to do happy hours, you can do like a movie night or a day in the park, whatever. It's totally up to you, but we do those as well. We do monthly gifting. So monthly gifting, which it was every month, but now we've tapered it off to every other month, to where our databases are getting a gift in the mail so that we can stay top of mind. But the biggest thing above all of this is we have to keep these lists engaged. And, instead of just blindly putting things out there like postcards and just hoping that they read them, or Facebook ads, we want to get them voice to voice, face to face. Okay. We want them to be our marketers out on the streets. And the best way to do that is by keeping them involved and actually showing that we're here, we're available, we care. If not for you, then who? That type of deal.
That's amazing. And I remember we talked about these education events last week when we spoke, and that to me was so awesome, right? I mean, the last time I purchased a home, the agent that I used to do that had some neat things right away, but then as soon as the transaction was done, there was never any follow-up, right? And because of that, that makes it hard to want to do business with that agent again, who's poor at that communication. So I love the idea of these events and teaching and education, because then those homeowners, there's a reason for them to show up. That's not just you talking about real estate. They show up because they need to know when they change their furnace filters, and how to handle smoke alarms, and how to maintain your lawn, and those types of things that are important for people who want to maintain that investment that they've made. I love it. That's so awesome. There's a couple of questions that have come in, and they're not related to the topic that we've been on, but I think that you're the pro at answering these questions. So I don't think these will throw you for a loop at all. This one from Richard, he says, what are you saying to FSBOs right now to open up the conversation? So with your agents who are on the sellers, who are doing listings, and they're doing expireds and for sale by owners, what are those opening lines? How are you communicating with the FSBOs right now during the pandemic, as opposed to other times of year when we're not experiencing social regulation and distancing the way that we are?
Sure. So we are automatically asking them, are they experiencing any effects on the sale of their home due to this? And how we're talking to FSBOs right now is we are really leveraging the buyers that we have. And it may not be a specific buyer for their property, but just overall, a lot of the conversations that we've been having with buyers have been more so in a direction of, we don't necessarily want to go the route of the FSBO. It's not as so much like we feel like we're going to save money. We just want to know that things are safe and it's protected, and all that type of stuff, like, going into a random person's home, and they want us to be able to vet them out and make sure that it's so, a lot of buyers are coming to us because they want that feeling of security. And we're having that conversation with the FSBOs right now. Something that we are noticing from some FSBOs that we're talking to is that it hasn't been as easy as they thought. And it may not even be from a marketing standpoint, but just the conversations, the phone calls have slowed down for them. People aren't necessarily driving around as much, so they're not seeing that one for sale by owner sign at the beginning of the neighborhood. And, it's a totally different market for them. One good thing that we are always able to leverage is our buyers list. So we use databases that allow us to literally just put in a criteria, and it'll tell us everybody who we have in our database that matches that criteria. So we can confidently say that we have buyers who are interested in this type of criteria. Our way to get in the door is by coming in to do the virtual tours. And we tell them this: hey, we're not bringing our buyers with us. We're not doing any of that. We're just coming in to do a virtual tour. And what we end up doing is we give the for sale by owners a copy of that virtual tour. Okay, this is our way of showing kind of how we work. And if they want to continue the conversation, which most of them do, if they want to continue the conversation, that's when we get into, exactly what we're doing right now that you can benefit from. Depending on the location, and this is something that we did earlier on before things were more open up, we were offering concessions to sellers because we were having them do a lot more work than they were used to. So we were giving them commission breaks, and that's still a conversation we can have. But I will say that for sale by owners have definitely been more available and more open to conversation, in my opinion. For instance, one of my listing agents, he said 7 appointments last week, like literally 7 in 2 days. So, and they were all for sale by owners. So
that's fantastic. That's awesome. I love that. A couple of questions that are coming in, which is really good. This one changed gears again. Amanda asked, she said, do you send out letters and postcards? And if so, has it generated business? Now, I know that you just mentioned that you do send out to your past clients, right? You do this gift that you send out. Mm-hmm. Are you doing any other kind of mailing related to generating business? And if so, has it worked?
Sure. So the mailing that we do is more based on the business that we have. So we're not doing any type of like farming, but we do make announcements. So if we have a new listing that comes on the market, we're going to mail that neighborhood to let them know that it's on the market. Then again, when it sells, we do a lot of mailing to our database. So people who we already have a relationship with. I'm just kind of one of those guys, like, I've never been that agent to just like throw money at anything. Like, I want to know that if I'm spending money on something, it's at least going to someone who'll halfway read it. Something that I do for my past clients, I write them a letter every single month. And it's just a letter kind of telling what's going on as far as like me personally, and then also offering some encouragement. So I'll talk about like any family trips I'm going on, or it's not so much business where it's like, oh, the market is up and down and this and that. No, it's just a personal letter. I started doing that when, kind of like you mentioned, when you stopped working with your agent, things just kind of stopped there. And, if you just think about it, you spend months with these people and you build up a relationship, and then it can kind of feel like a breakup after, and it can kind of feel like a little heartbreak. So I wanted to do something where I'm still kind of communicating with them. So we do those letters. That's the extent of mailing for the most part. The gift program, though, is a bulk of our mailing. I mean, that kind of costs the most every month, and but we don't just do like cold blanket mailing.
Can you give us some ideas? This gift program. Can you give us some ideas of what that looks like? What are you mailing? How often? To who?
Sure. So, for instance, what month are we in? We are in
June 1st.
Y'all? June. Okay. So June, we send out a little like sample of hot sauce, and it just has a message in there: for the hottest real estate deals, be sure to give me a call. February, for instance, we send out the like Valentine's Day candy with like a little, and like these messages are literally just little business card size messages, and it just says, doing business with you is sweet. And so they're not like huge gifts where we're spending a lot of money on, but they're just little cute things just to stay top of mind. Like we sent out like masks, like these little like masquerade masks during the like Halloween time. And it said, let us know when you're looking for a beautiful home. And, it had like the little eyes. Yeah. So, those types of things.
I love that. I think that's great. And I think it is important. I mean, it's not specifically related to real estate, right? I mean, the message sounds like it's to say, look, this is a business gesture, but ultimately that is what keeps people top of mind. That's what keeps you at the top of your client's mind, is knowing that you're maintaining that relationship and keeping in touch, so that when they go, hey, I need to transact again, that you're the guy they go to, or when their neighbor needs to transact, that you're the guy that they go to.
And I'll tell you, when we're planning these, like literally the goal is like, how corny can we make this? You know, like, how corny can we make this? Because I mean, honestly, like that's what gets us called. You know, I mean, it's not just like directly like, oh, I'm so glad you sent that Halloween candy because I have a lead for you. It's more saying like, oh my gosh, that one was so funny. I can't wait to hear what y'all do for the next one. So yeah.
I love it. And it sounds like it works, right? Yeah. It sounds like it works. That's awesome.
Keeps you top of mind.
Yeah. One more question from Jamal. He says, how has your schedule changed? So I think he's asking your personal schedule. How has it changed since becoming a team leader as opposed to being a solo agent?
Yeah, I will say that I am just as busy, if not more busy, but it's more so what I'm doing has changed. So there's a lot of there's some things on my schedule that I just won't compromise on, and that's my calling time and lunches with my sphere and VIPs and past clients. So like I have to do those things, but a lot of my day-to-day consists of like meetings. So I'm meeting with our listings department and our buyers agents, and then meeting with my director, so my sales director, and then the office manager. So a lot of more higher meetings, to where it's more so based on what's happening in the business, what are our numbers looking like, where are our opportunities, things like that. How can we grow more? I've been able to do a lot more of these nowadays. So being on interviews and continuing to put content out there for agents, it's allowed me to do that. It's different for me. I'm gonna say that because I didn't go into this role exactly knowing how to do things or specifically like what to do. But what happens is, as you start to delegate out things to other people and other departments, then that frees up time. And instead of it being my time that I can just lay back, like I wonder, how can I fill that time with something else, something more high level? And I think that's what's attributed to my growth, because I've never had that just like lay back and finally made it attitude. I've always been like, okay, now that he's doing this job, what can I do in that place and to make this even bigger and better?
Well, and I think that's really that's the description that a good leader would give, right? Mm-hmm. Is you've got 54 agents working under you, and you're not just going, hey, where's the next transaction? You're thinking ahead of where are the next 500 transactions coming for these agents, right? And so it does force you to think further ahead than what are the prospecting numbers today, right? You're going, hey, what are we going to be doing over the next 6 months to continue to provide stable business for the agents that you've brought onto your team? So I love that. I think it's really indicative of a good leader, right? Somebody who's looking ahead like that and thinking longer term. So a couple more really good questions have come in here. These are fantastic. I'm going to ask Tom's question, and then I'm going to go back to the one from Bismarck Homes, because I think that Tom's is a little more in line with what we were just talking about. But he says, can you describe your team's prospecting schedules? You mentioned that calling time I don't sacrifice on, and your listing agents and your buyers agents are all big callers. Yep. What does the prospecting schedule look like?
Sure. So Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. It starts out with our sales huddle meetings. So those start at 9:47 a.m. Every single day. And after the sales huddle, which ends at 10 o'clock, then it is the 2-hour-long calling time. So again, everyone in the office is calling. And the big goal of the calling is to be scheduling appointments, whether they're listing appointments, buyer consultations, appointments to show homes, whatever it is. And then keep their afternoon reserved for actually going on those appointments and conducting that business. What I'll say is my team structure allows for a tremendous amount of support. So honestly, my agents don't have to do much besides sell. A lot of the things are taken care of, and sell and report their numbers. A lot of the things are taken care of for them. Even for listing agents, everything's kind of set and ready to go. So that's the calling schedule. On Wednesdays, however, it changes because I lead a training for 2 hours that starts at 10:30 to 12:30. And so after that training is when the huddle starts, and then the calling time for 2 hours is after that. Now, what happens during this calling time, though, it's a big coaching opportunity. So myself and my sales manager, he takes on the buyers, I take on the listings, and we're actually listening to those calls. So I'll probably go out there for maybe 10 or 15 minutes to hear how the calls are going. And if there's something that needs to be corrected, we'll correct it right there on the spot. Or, hey, try this and see if this works. We'll do it right there on the spot. And then I get back to my calling. But that's what the prospecting time is daily.
Awesome. I love that. Now, one more question here. Somebody, Bismarck Holmes, he says, what method has worked best in your business time to promote, excuse me. So my brain's not reading this. What method has worked best in your business time, proven to promote a new listing for a faster sale? So when you put a listing on the market, what are the things that you do to promote that listing to get it to close quicker?
Sure. Well, we have our like listing action plan of everything that we have to do for a listing. One big thing is we don't put listings on the market immediately. I know an agent can get that listing signed and immediately want to have it on MLS tomorrow, unless it's like that type of situation for the client. They know, and we go in there and say, hey, you're looking at 7 to 14 days before this is actually on the market, because we do a series of events to where we want to make sure that we are presenting the listing in the best way. Secondly, we don't half step anything. So when that listing goes live, it's going to have professional photos. It's going to be staged if it needs it. It's going to have the professional brochures actually in the property. That open house is already scheduled. There is a broker tour already scheduled. Like, all of those things happen well before we put a listing on the market. So when we do make that active, it is like bam, 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 bam. People driving by see signs promoting the open house. We're running Facebook ads for the open house. Of course, it's a new listing, so I'm pretty sure people who are watching it are seeing people going in and out, in and out, in and out, and that gets our phones ringing. Then we have the buyer's agents who take the sign calls, and so I would say it's just really a combination of everything packed into one, like all happening at the same time, kind of just like that guerrilla marketing technique where you start to say, gosh, I see this everywhere. That's the same thing that we do for listings. So I haven't identified just one thing that makes it sell faster, because I require that we do everything.
I love it. It sounds thorough, right? It sounds like, hey, we get a listing, and this is the process that we go through, which I mentioned earlier, right? Systems and processes that we can duplicate over and over and over, I think, is what really leads to long-term success, right? And so you know that, hey, there are these things that before that home hits the market, these things have to be done. Right. And I think the message that we're getting from you is that there's no part of your business that isn't that way, Chastin, which is really, really awesome. I greatly appreciate the time that you spent with us. We could go for another hour really easily.
I know, man.
But we want to be respectful of everybody's time. Everybody, thank you for joining us today. We greatly appreciate the questions, and we hope that there's plenty of things. I can think of many things off the top of my head that people can take away from this and implement in their business. So thank you, Chastin.
Yeah.
As always, if you're not subscribed to the updates for this podcast series, make sure to go to our homepage, theredx.com, and subscribe there. Also, our Facebook page and YouTube channel are awesome places to go if you're looking for additional resources about prospecting, about REDX tools, or connecting with other agents who would like to do the same. I do also want to remind everybody that in the comments of this video, Chastin gave away his ebook, which is 50 ways to generate leads. So please go and download that. Thank you again, Chastin, for being willing to share that with our audience today. It's awesome. We've got we've got some amazing stuff to take away from this and go implement in people's businesses. So thank you so much for joining us today, Chastin. If you'll hang out with us for a few more minutes, and we'll go over some things after the show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back here on Wednesday for another podcast. Thank you, and we'll see you then.